Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today we're taking a look at Path of Exile 2. Path of Exile 2 has just come out into early access. It's kind of a weird situation in the fact that to gain early access, you have to pay for it. I think it was like £25–30, but when it actually does release, it will be for free. So if you want to hold on, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know personally what perks will be given to those that purchased in early access. I imagine it will be just cosmetic, because Path of Exile in the past has only really dealt with cosmetic sort of microtransactions and things of that nature, so I expect that to continue in the future. So Path of Exile, what is it? Think Diablo, but more complicated, I think, and probably better as well, in all honesty. Although I have just bought the Vessel of Hatred, but I've yet to play enough of it to actually form an opinion on it, so whatever. That could be amazing for all I know, but I don't, so bleh. So I played the original Path of Exile, enjoyed it very much. It was very similar to Diablo 2, which I liked, because Diablo 2 was the first Diablo I ever actually finished. I'd never actually played Diablo 1 until many years after playing Diablo 2, for whatever stupid reason. Probably me being stupid. And Path of Exile, the first one, reminded me strongly of that. Now, it has changed between Path of Exile and its sequel. There are stuff that's missing, stuff they've introduced, like dodge rolling is now in there, obviously taking their cues from Diablo 4, I would say. Or, you know, possibly. We'll just have a suspicion on that. I don't like it, personally, because the problem with it is there's no phasing, so if you're surrounded by enemies, you can't roll out of the middle. You just, like, roll on the spot while they continue to hammer you, and keep you trapped in place. So that's a bit of a bastard. It is a harder game, definitely, than, like, any of the more recent Diablos. It's not Dark Souls difficult or something like that, but it is more difficult than Diablo, definitely. You really need to have your shit together, and when you're fighting bosses, which are interesting and fun, you really do need to strain using all of your class's abilities and that accursed dodge roll, unfortunately. In terms of stability, it seems to run fine. I haven't had any problems with it, outside of not being able to play it on day one. I only bought it, I think, about 9 o'clock in the evening, though, so I wasn't really going to play it that evening anyway. I just wanted to have a quick look. So the fact that the server was down for me at that point wasn't really too much of a hassle. I did see streamers basically just trying to log in over and over again, though. Bit of an annoying thing if you're planning your content around it, but that wasn't the case for me, so I didn't have too much of an issue. It was up the following morning, and I haven't had any connection issues since. In terms of how it runs, it seems to run pretty well. It does vary quite broadly across frame rates, but I don't believe I've ever dipped below 60, and I have gone up as high as 144, which is the maximum refresh rate of my monitor. So all good there as far as I'm concerned. This is with DLSS on quality, I'll have you know. So you do have scaling options available to you, the usual FSR and DLSS. Other than that, the settings are all whacked up to the maximum at 1440p, just for your information. So what do I think of it so far? I'm enjoying it, but I think, how to put it, some of the classes I enjoy more than others, shall we just say. I find melee to be really difficult and far easier with a ranged character. We do have a few new characters make appearances, like the mercenary, who's a guy with a crossbow, and he can load in different ammo, which is pretty cool. And a ranger. I don't think she was in the previous one as well. Currently we have access to 6 character classes, and I think it's 6, and we will be getting more in future. We also only have access to 3 acts out of the 6 that will be available once the game is fully complete. It's the first 3 acts, but you do also have access to the endgame stuff, which I haven't reached yet, as this is only a first impressions video. I am not an authority on the game. I'm just going to bring you what I initially thought of it. And my initial thoughts are good. it does several things I like. Outside of the graphics, which are very nice, and the performance, which seems to be okay. It also introduces the fact that you can use WASD, which is lovely if you're playing a ranged character. How many times have you been trying to click on an old skelly bum in Diablo, and you've just missed him by a hair, and you run at him with your weak, squishy mage character? It's not fun. So being able to use the WASD keys to move around and then target with your mouse, bob on! If you want to as well, you can also use a controller, and one of the things they've done very nicely is provided you a completely different UI for the controller, which makes it a lot of sense. Some games I've seen having done it in the past, none come to mind at this moment, but I have seen some games do it, and it is just so much of a, well, why doesn't everybody do this? This is the way it should be. It's unbelievable that everybody just doesn't do it, because it makes a huge difference to the game. Rather than scrolling through endless menus on a D-pad, or when you would just click it with a mouse or use your scroll wheel, you know? Stuff like that. So, well done, Grinding Gear Games, for that. Let me get back into what I was saying about the characters, because I don't know, it could be a skill thing. It's probably a skill thing because it's me. The melee characters seem awfully difficult. You do get stun locked quite a lot, and as I said, you can get surrounded as well. You do have abilities that go out in a radius, but no real ability to get you out of that jam, and your dodge roll does not do it, which I think is silly. I'm not even sure if there's any iframes on the dodge roll either. I think you need to physically be able to clear it. And it's not, how to say, it's not the most reactive type of dodge roll I've ever used either, so there does seem to be a bit of lag on it, so it can be a bit of a bastard to use. A lot of the early game bosses you can kite to the fact that they'll be shooting behind you and stuff like that, so it's not a huge issue. I imagine as I get on and the level of difficulty of the bosses go up, then I need to be a lot better at it. But that's just my take. I've played a few classes just to try them out. I've played the Warrior, which is the class I like least because getting the shit kicked out of me. Was it the Soldier in this? I think it's the Soldier in this. I played the Witch, so I'm flicking my wand at people with all my energy. One mistake I did make with the Witch is I found a new wand. I'm like, that's a better wand, I'll use that. It also changed my attack, which I'd kind of forgotten. I can't remember if it was a thing in Path of Exile, the first one, because it's been a while since I played it. But yeah, I was originally firing off like an energy ball, and it was my main attack, and I was like, hey, this is alright. And then I equipped the new wand, and it was a drain mana wand. That's all it did. It didn't kill anything, it just drained mana from them. And I was like, oh shit. So I had to rely on my secondary spells and shit for quite some time until I got a better one that I could actually use to attack things. So yes, be careful when switching out equipment. Perhaps don't sell your old one immediately and then run away from the vendor so you can't buy it back. Just saying. Outside of that, I'm having a very good time with it. The sound design is very good. Everywhere it seems, just the sounds are really atmospheric, and all the voice acting that I've come across so far is also good, which is very nice indeed. I think my favourite class to play at the moment is probably the Mercenary. The crossbow is a nice weapon, and you get bombs, and you can change the ammo type of your crossbow, so you can have fire and ice, and you get ones that sort of form like a shotgun, which is good for handling sort of hordes of enemies. You do need to reload though. You just don't have an infinite supply. Well, you do have an infinite supply, but not in the crossbow itself. So I think it's 6 bolts he shoots, he needs to reload. And if you change ammo types, he needs to reload as well. The animation for that's not very long, so I don't really have a problem with it. And given the fact that you can be surrounded and pinned in place and battered in this game, I just think having a long-range character just makes a whole bunch more sense to me. I'll be hanging back and just kiting a few, and you know, they do seem to lose track of you quite quickly in this game. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. Like, literally, you can go around a corner and they could be like, I don't know where he went. And just walk back to where they were coming from. Which, you know, is good in the sense that I can like pull a few at a time. But you know, I'm not real sure that's a thing that should be happening. I would like to see loot drops go up, and I think maybe enemy tankiness go down. I think enemies can take a longer time to kill than they need to. And, I mean, you're fighting like enemies that do barely any damage to you sometimes, but you still need to shoot them twice or 3 times. You're like, well, I'm just going to ignore them, but then you realise you can't ignore them because they block your shots. So it's, I don't know. You know, on that one. But, and you do, obviously you get loot, but I don't think it's quite at the sort of level it needs to be. I think they need to up that a bit. I'm not talking quality, I'm just talking amount. You can go for quite some time before you get an actual loot drop in combat, which seems a bit weird, you know. I don't know whether it's just because, you know, I'm so conditioned to Diablo. I expect like every third imp to drop something that I can pick up, but whatever. So Path of Exile 2, I would recommend it. I would recommend paying £30 for it. I think it's worth it in terms of game, even the game that's here right now, because you do have access to 3 acts, which will take you, so I've heard, around about 20 hours. And then you've got endgame content as well, which you can do. So, haven't reached that, so can't talk about it. But so I think as a value proposition, it more than makes up for it. Whether or not you'd rather wait for the full release and not pay money, well, I can see the argument for that as well. But certainly, if you do like action RPGs and don't mind spending £30 that you wouldn't have to spend if you waited however many months it's going to take to finish the damn thing, then certainly give it a go. Why not? It's very good. It's not a masterpiece. I've seen some people refer to it as a masterpiece. 5 out of 5. Oh, chef's kiss. No, it's not that. It's very good, but there are still things wrong with it, in my opinion. So bear that in mind. Anyway, that's been my first impressions on Path of Exile 2. I hope that it was of interest and of help to you. Let me know down below if you're playing it and your experience, and whether I'm just shit at melee, which is, let's face it, the most likely case. And if you haven't got it, whether or not you intend to get it, you know, is the £30 when you don't really have to spend it if you're patient too much of a barrier for you, perhaps? Anyway, guys, take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.